Veggie girl! I come to Mita's door and wait for her to peek out of the curtain and open the door. Today I have some onions and parsnips. How you doing? Would you like those? We chat for a while, and then before I leave, she gives me this big hug and whispers in my ear, "I love you." Plenty happens because nourishing my community nourishes me. It's about food, and it's about love. I grew up on my mother's parents, Ned and Marjorie Harshbarger's farm in Kansas City, Missouri. But by the time I came along, the barn and the chicken coop were tumbling down, my grandparents were gone, and there was no garden. My mother got our veggies in the summertime from the farm stand, and in the winter from Cassio's Food Mart frozen food section. And I pretty much cooked the way she did. Meat, potatoes, maybe a veggie, until I came to Floyd County. We moved here in 2005 and immediately joined Seven Springs Farm CSA, a big bag of fresh veggies every week. Beets, I thought I didn't like them, but I learned that I could cut up the greens and saute them and grate the bulb into a salad raw. Celeriac? I hadn't even heard of it. They told me peel off that ugly, scraggly, dirty outside and then dice the inside and put it into a soup with some fresh carrots and greens, maybe some potatoes. And I was also fed right on the ground out there, weeding with Polly and Ann and Bridget, feeling useful at a time when I wasn't really sure what I was doing here. Then one day, Polly said to me, "Why don't you take these extra beet greens to the food pantry in town?" And I did, but they couldn't use them. So McCabe and I started talking. What if we took extra veggies from people's gardens out to people who don't have transportation? Maybe that was the beginning step of finding out that nourishing the community could feed me too. So that brings us to the love part. And of course, that's a little harder to talk about. It was a complete surprise to me. Community, it's a hard word to define, but you know it when you feel it, right? My other grandparents, Ralph Day and Urza Hauser, grew up in a small town in the middle of Iowa where everyone was either related or they knew each other's business, even if they weren't related. And then they moved to a larger community, and things started to change. And then my father died young, and they began to close off. No stories of the old times, no big family reunions. You know, it was safer to just keep everything inside. So when Mita opened up her heart and her arms and whispered in my ear, I was shocked. How could anyone be that generous, that giving to a total stranger? I don't know now how she did that, but I do know that she came from a tradition where a neighbor showing up on the porch with something from the garden wasn't that unusual. She was ready to open her door. And that's how Floyd County taught me that food and love go together. So there's this old story. A girl wonders, what are heaven and hell like? And she goes to sleep and a guide comes to her. and takes her to a room with a big banquet table covered with lavish food and lots of people all around the table. But they're not eating. They have these really long spoons and they're scooping up the food, but they can't reach their own mouth. Then they go to another room. There's the same banquet table, the same food, the same people all around the table. But they're eating. They're taking that long spoon and reaching across the table. The guide turned to the little girl and said, "In heaven, they feed each other." Plenty's built on that. When we feed each other, we're fed. When we nourish community, we nourish our own souls. So we started by knocking on doors, and they were opened wide. And then we keep thinking, what are other ways that we can bring more food to more neighbors? When the weather gets warm, it's time for the plenty good free lunch. So we'll set out tables and put out casseroles and salads. We'll set tables and chairs for everyone. There'll be a place for you and me. We're all welcome. We'll fill up our plates. We'll eat good food. I get filled up. One of these days, we're gonna sit at the welcome table. We're gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days, hallelujah. All kinds of people round that table, gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days.